When the first game of the 2024 NBA Finals began, I think we all thought we'd get a battle of the NBA stars situation, with the Mavericks and Celtics throwing haymakers at each other until the final buzzer. But Kristaps Porzingis had a different idea, and with the help of Jaylen Brown, they ended the game early by wreaking havoc on both ends that had Dallas reeling and making us all wonder if this series is already over. Don't get me wrong, I think there's plenty of time left for the Mavs to get back in this series. I mean, this was one of Kyrie Irving's worst playoff performances this year, to the point where I was wondering whether it was due to nerves, considering it had been 7 long years since his last finals appearance. But it also might have been possessions like these where he was relegated to being bent over, hands on his knees, in the deep corner, just watching the action unfold. And by the time Luka went out in the first quarter, the Mavericks offense couldn't get anything going with Kyrie at the helm. They want to attack Sam Hauser by forcing the switch, but Kyrie loses the handle, ends up in the deep left corner, knows Kristaps Porzingis is in the paint and Drew Holiday hovering off his man on the wing, so bails the defense out with a tough shot that hits off the backboard. But let's talk about KP for a bit, since this is the part no one really expected after he had been out for over a month with a calf injury. Checking in with a 1-point lead and 7:17 left in the first, he ends up leading the Celtics on a 23-5 run that effectively ended the game before the first quarter was through. Just being able to put him on the weak side corner was helpful. Since Lively doesn't want to give up an open shot to a good shooter, he's not where he might normally be protecting the rim, as PJ Washington foolishly gambles for the ball, allowing Jaylen Brown to get right to where they have to foul him. They get their first taste of how imposing he is when Kyrie rejects a screen to pull 2 defenders to him, but his teammate Luke Cornett gets credit for developing a contest where you just jump from somewhere between the shooter and the basket and interrupt the shooter's vision, and this worked well on Derrick Jones Jr. This is a familiar scene as Luka puts his defender in jail. In the other series, we saw him be a maestro in complete control of the possession, but Porzingis makes him think twice about shooting it, then erases the reverse layup before grabbing the board. The Celtics wanted to make Luka work as hard as possible on both ends, so this ball screen forces a switch. If the Mavs aren't going to send a double, then they're really in trouble. It was too easy to force a switch with a quick step-up screen, so now instead of Lively being able to muscle him, he can dominate Jaden Hardy with a series of pump fakes that gets Hardy defending with his face as he cold buries the jumper. The first game is usually a bit of a feeling out period, as PJ thinks he can lay it up over KP in the open court, but I guess he missed the scouting report because this is a bad idea. The inside ball screen serves 2 purposes. One is to force a switch to get KP on the ball, and the other is to collapse the defense with middle penetration. Notice how Hauser is holding his position on Kleba, and Hardy doesn't have many options, as Porzingis blocks this shot into a turnover. In transition, here's the moment Lively could have told Green to pick up Hauser so he can guard KP, but they're not even aware of this possibility to switch in time. So the Celtics waste no time in exploiting the severe height mismatch, and unfortunately for Green, his groin level is the same as KP's knee level, and he turns to get space before dropping another open 13-footer into the basket. The Mavericks got some good offense in the last series by having Kyrie backstream in the wing, but check how Porzingis simply getting in the area to help stops what would have been a layup. With Luka out, the Celtics are in full Kyrie denial mode as Hauser won't even let him catch it. This left Hardy to be the creator, something he's been getting better and better at, and Drew just about strips him, and I'm sure he didn't call bank on this one. Tatum had been a non-factor on offense up until this point, and I'm sure he was getting a little antsy. The Mavericks are going to be willing to switch the KP ball screens, and Gafford actually does a good job to get a hand up and contest. But Tatum tends to shoot better off the dribble. This one is way deep, and this is when we started to sense the game was slipping away for the Mavs. There's no question the hostile crowd had a lot to do with putting pressure on the Mavericks and leading to them wilting in the first half. If you don't believe me, just go to a game and find out. And the best way to do that is by using SeatGeek. It's the best app for finding tickets to any concert, sporting event, or the theater, and I use it all the time for years and years. In fact, I just went to Las Vegas to see U2 play in the Sphere, and I used SeatGeek to make sure I was getting the best deal on tickets. It was so easy to get the tickets transferred to me, they're guaranteed, and I had an absolute blast with some of the most stunning visuals ever seen at a rock concert. So, use my new code BBALL10 and save 10% off of any tickets you get for a limited time. Click on the link below, use my code BBALL10, and find out how this moment coincides with Kyrie Irving's very poor play. At this moment, the Celtics are on a run, having bumped the lead to double digits, so now you're on the road, getting a great shot is imperative. Kyrie wants to pick on Porzingis, but watch how the more mobile Sam Hauser quickly takes his place up in the pick and roll. There isn't an opening for Kyrie in the drive, but with plenty of time left, he cannot just settle for a step-back corner three against a guy who's 6 inches taller than him. This brutal miss reveals exactly why KP is the X factor. The Mavericks actually get back on defense fine, but Gafford isn't used to guarding a guy who's going to trail and pull from 30 feet away from the basket, and pull he does, as the lead and the crowd's excitement grows. If I had said it was imperative to get a great shot the last time down, this is a do-or-die situation for Dallas. And what do they get? They at least catch Porzingis involved in the step-up screen and force a switch, but Kyrie cannot do a simple left-right pull-up from 15 feet with Porzingis squared up in front of him. He's got over a foot of height advantage on him, he even regains control of the block shot, and here come the Celtics. Hauser never needs much room to get his shot off, and what a way to get his first finals bucket to extend the lead to 17 in the first quarter. Obviously, the Mavs need Luka and Kyrie to be playing their best to have a chance to beat the Celtics, and it's not just offensively. I caught this play early where Luka has to be moving back towards his man as Tatum crosses the midline. Instead, he stands there and lets Al get a wide open three, and they dodge this bullet. A similar concept early in the second as Luka cannot be at the lane line one pass away against Pritchard, another sharpshooter. He does get there with a hand up, but watch what he does after the release, wandering up the court instead of towards the basket, allowing Pritchard to get his own rebound, and the Mavericks dodge another bullet when PJ makes a three-point saving deflection as Hauser was wide open in the corner. Because of that extra possession though, they have a chance to pick on Luka in the pick and roll. And while they want to play no middle defense and probably don't mind Brown going to his left, Luka cannot turn completely sideways to his man. This just opens the gate and allows JB a path to the block. The shot fake makes Gafford hesitate, and Luka is allowing all sorts of easy shots out there. And then this suboptimal positioning happens again in the second quarter. There's no need for him to be on the lane line with Gafford already there in good help position, leaving Hauser of all people open for the mythical no-dip three. And while he doesn't dip the ball in a vertical direction, notice how the ball goes back horizontally to generate momentum into the shot. This is the pinnacle of shooting skill, and Hauser has gotten to the top of that mountain. And if it wasn't clear to you that they were picking on Luka, and Luka was giving them every reason to be picked on, Brown again calls Luka up into his ball screen dance. This is where they need to scram Luka out of there and send PJ Washington up there instead. It's just too easy for Brown to hit him with a basic crossover back to the middle and then destroy the rim with this dunk that had the Garden levitating. This is another reason why I was wondering if Kyrie was just rattled by the pressure of playing in the finals. If ever there was a moment you needed to get the absolute best shot imaginable, a driving layup, 2 feet in the paint for a kick out to a wide open three, maybe a Luka post up. Instead, he just burps up an early off-the-dribble contested three-point shot, and there doesn't seem to be any hope for the Mavericks. Jason Kidd wanted to match KP's minutes with Lively's minutes, and they too want to keep Lively out of the pick and roll out top with Tatum, so he points to Luka to switch with him. Obviously, that would be a bad idea, but it's simply too easy for the Celtics offense to force this switch and let KP go to work in the mid-range. The top of the key is somewhere you really can't send a double team without giving up a great shot, and credit Jones Jr. for defending as well as he can, but this is the KP conundrum. How are you supposed to stop this? And they do something similar with this rub screen in the left wing. They're worried about giving White an open three, rightfully so, and have to switch this to stop him from lighting it up. But that leaves little Josh Green on KP. I thought for sure the physicality would throw him off, but he might not have even noticed he was being guarded as the lead gets over 20. I think the only way to deal with this is to go old school and hedge with Lively high, let Green go under so he can stay with White, and Lively can recover and hope to get a hand up if KP pops for a three. While Luka put up numbers in the offensive end, he wasn't good. I can't remember the last time I'd seen him back down a smaller guard, draw the contact, but then not shoot the ball and lose the chance at free throws. The next possession, they get Brown off of him, and he just takes Tatum to the basket. Tatum doesn't even contest the shot, but Luka smokes the layup, and to make matters worse, much worse, he runs back down the court slow, randomly wanders over to double Tatum's back, and it puts the defense in full rotation mode. The ball moves too fast by the Celtics for anyone to get to Brown in time, and he continues to be their MVP. And here's where I was about to turn off the TV. You'll see the Celtics press Luka whenever he brings the ball up, and his casual behind-the-back dribble is easily stolen when Brown pounces on it, giving Brown another dunk and a 24-point lead with 5 minutes left in the second quarter. If you didn't believe me how bad Luka was on both ends, but particularly the defensive side, here's one final play I'll share. They put him on Drew because guarding Horford was making it too easy to get him involved in the pick and roll. So Holiday just fakes a handoff to Tatum, and Luka's position was so bad it compromises the defense instantly. The reason Luka will have stretches where he struggles is because the Celtics have so many plus defenders to switch onto him. But Tatum might not be a guy that can handle him, as Luka again blows by him and makes this layup after forcing that switch. Another area the Mavs can mine is Kyrie attacking Horford, and they just weren't able to find enough opportunities. If they can catch him in semi-transition with step-up screens, the switch will be there, and spreading into the corner will give Kyrie the room he needs to generate high-quality looks. Same goes for Luka, and they should happen quick in transition so the defense doesn't have time to come up with a solution. Lively will drag Brown out of the way, and Al won't be able to stop Luka from getting into the paint. The Celtics are the best defensive team the Mavericks have played, and you can see it when White is able to scram Porzingis out of there so he won't have to face Luka on a switch. Of course, when Luka can just step back and hit a three, it might make the defense seem ineffective, but it's preferable to letting him get downhill. I bet we'll also see Brown go underneath the ball screens and dare Luka to shoot more of these. While he got burned here, Luka went 0 for 3 the rest of the game, and the Mavericks didn't get any closer. Of course, the Celtics like to get three happy, and this stretch where the Mavs thought they were getting back in the game was just a montage of tough three-point shots they missed when they went cold collectively as a team. But eventually, they got back on track, hitting 4 of their last 8 shots from behind the arc, and at that point the game was never in doubt. I can practically guarantee Luka and Kyrie will play much better going forward, but does that make up for the 18-point deficit we saw in Game 1? And will Mazzulla continue to play Horford 30 minutes and Porzingis 21? Al was suboptimal for them, and if KP continues to get more chances to do damage, it would be hard to pick against the Celtics as the next NBA champions.